By late 1943, the Pacific War is transforming. Japanese expansion is definitively over as General Douglas MacArthur's Southwest Pacific area secures the approaches to Australia and captures Japanese-held territory in the Solomon Islands. Meanwhile, after the battles of Midway and Coral Sea, massively expanded U.S. naval forces no longer play a cat-and-mouse game with Japanese fleets, but shift to major, sustained offensive operations. The Japanese go over to the defensive and create a national defense zone across the Pacific. Its outer edges anchor on so-called unsinkable aircraft carriers, island groups and atolls like the Marshall, Caroline, and Gilbert Islands that provide interlocking aerial cover. If U.S. forces attack them, island garrisons will wear down invaders and open the possibility of air and naval counterattack from Japanese bases at Rabaul and Truk. U.S. admirals like Chester Nimitz and Ernest King also recognize that these island groups, many containing airfields and good anchorages, can function as stepping stones towards Japan. The Joint Chiefs of Staff debate the strategy, with MacArthur arguing it would divert resources from his South Pacific push. Nonetheless, at the January 1943 Casablanca Conference, the Allies order a Central Pacific campaign commanded by Admiral Raymond Spruance. Island hopping is risky. Nimitz wants to bypass non-essential Japanese-held islands, potentially threatening U.S. lines of communication. Furthermore, capturing islands means multiple amphibious invasions against prepared positions, arguably modern warfare's most difficult operation. The U.S. Marines have an amphibious doctrine, but by 1943, most landings have been largely unopposed. 49 personalities also complicate planning. Admiral Kelly Turner and Marine General Holland Smith command the amphibious landing forces, but debate command structure. Both are known for their tempers, earning the names Howling Mad Smith and Terrible Turner. Captain Carl Moore navigates the feud. Holland Smith particularly complained about Kelly Turner. He was a whining, complaining type. He would come and sit on my desk and growl about Turner. All I want to do is kill some Japs. Just give me a rifle. I don't want to be a commanding general. And Turner would come and complain about that blankety. Blank Smith. Couldn't get any cooperation out of him, and so forth. Toll Moore compromises. Turner commands all amphibious forces until Smith moves ashore, a system that lasts until the end of the war. Initially, Nimitz wants to invade the Marshall Islands, but the Japanese base at Truk is a significant threat. Instead, Spruance settles for invading the Gilbert Islands, a Japanese-occupied British possession further from the major Japanese bases. From September 1943, Operation Galvanic targets islands in the Makin, Abimama, and Tarawa atolls, all occupied by the Japanese in late 1941. The Japanese mostly abandon Abimama, leaving only 25 Marines to watch for U.S. movements, but defend Makin's seaplane base with 800 troops. Bitio, in the Tarawa Atoll, is the most important and well-defended with an airfield and 850 Japanese troops, mostly crack Japanese Marines. But the island is tiny, 5 km long and 600 meters wide, smaller than New York's Central Park. Its highest point is 3 meters above sea level. For the defending Japanese, it prevents maneuver or defense in depth, but does allow for quick troop deployment and for almost all weapons to hit anywhere on the island. For the attacking U.S., the enemy are fish in a barrel, but the Japanese will certainly contest the beaches and U.S. firepower may hit friendly troops. After a U.S. raid on Makin in August 1942, Bitio Commander Rear Admiral Keiji Shibazaki builds major defense works, including 500 bunkers, shore guns, and offshore obstacles. The southern coast is the best prepared, but all beaches are defended, while 14 reserve light tanks can strike anywhere. Batio might be per meter the most heavily defended position on Earth, and Shibazaki boasts about it. 1 million men could not take Tarawa in 100 years. Vukovitz 74 U.S. intelligence identifies defensive works from aerial and submarine photography, while former residents, mostly British, provide geographic information. But U.S. aircraft make no low-level reconnaissance flights and miss many well-camouflaged smaller positions. And the American don't have any diver teams to scout underwater obstacles. The 5th Amphibious Corps 2nd Marine and 27th Infantry Divisions will attack Batio and Makin on November 20, supported by Task Force 58 ships and carrier planes. On Batio, planner Colonel David Shoup selects 3 landing beaches on the northern lagoon side. Landing vehicles tracked, or LVTs, originally logistical transports, will act as assault boats and land Marines directly ashore. LVT carry the first 3 assault waves, while shallow, hulled landing craft carry waves 4 through 10. Former residents inform planners there should be enough water for landing craft to cross an offshore reef. New Zealander Frank Holland, though, warns 2nd Marine Division Commander Julian Smith the invasion date may coincide with a rare, ultra-low tide, but others disagree. Smith warns his officers but does not change the date. At 5 a.m. on November 20, U.S. ships including 3 battleships opened fire on Batio with a 3-hour barrage. This is much less than the multi-day barrage Smith requested, and things immediately go wrong. When the invasion command ship, Battleship USS Maryland, fires its first salvo, the vibrations knock out its hastily installed communication equipment. Coordination with aircraft strikes is also poor. But to the waiting Marines, it is an impressive display and confidence is high. Fires burned from one end of Batio to the other. As I watched the destruction, I couldn't help thinking, how would anybody live through that? Vukovitz 103 Jeremiah Hanafin. Although U.S. ships knock out larger Japanese positions, smaller ones survive. Some shells ricochet off the island, while up to 25% of the 1,500 shells fired may miss it entirely. Japanese warrant officer Kiyoshi Ota is on the receiving end. This bombardment was violent beyond expression, a frightening and horrifying experience. It went on and on without ceasing. My position received a direct hit, but none of us were wounded. We were only buried by sand, which we quickly dug away. I still marvel that so many of us escaped with our lives during this period when heavy shells were falling on the island like rain. Vukovitz 104 Kiyoshi Ota. Meanwhile, empty LVT pick up men from landing craft at sea, despite difficult currents and inaccurate Japanese counter-fire. Delays in forming up give Shibazaki time to redeploy men from the south coast. So U.S. warships are pounding Tarawa, but the landings are delayed. At 9 a.m., after up to 5 hours of waiting, the first LVT head for the beaches. One landing craft lands a scout sniper platoon on the long pier, temporarily clearing it of Japanese machine guns and snipers. Around 450 meters from the beaches, the tracked LVT successfully crossed the reef, surprising the Japanese. We could see the American landing craft coming towards us like dozens of spiders scattering over the surface of the water. One of my men exclaimed, "The god of death has come." Alexander 111. Once the thinly armored LVT get inside the lagoon, Japanese defenders open fire. They're inaccurate, knocking out only 8 of 87 LVT in the initial waves, but it's unnerving for Marines expecting minimal resistance. Correspondent Robert Sherrod recalls the approach. "We jumped into the little tractor boat and quickly settled on the deck. 'Oh God, I'm scared,' said the little Marine, a telephone operator. I gritted my teeth and tried to force a smile that would not come. I said, in an effort to be reassuring, 'I'm scared too.' I never made a more truthful statement in all my life. Sherrod 67, Robert Sherrod. Once the Marines hit the beaches, they take cover at the seawall. The Japanese expected this and pre-sighted the areas with mortars. This forces the Marines over the wall where Japanese snipers and machine guns pick them off. Meanwhile, heavy fire, especially from a location later called the Pocket, and from an offshore shipwreck, forces LVT off their original course. Ships and planes eliminate the shipwreck defenders, but other Japanese swim out and reoccupy the positions. Many Marines group up around the relative cover of the pier and only create a very narrow beachhead. Soaked radios, officer casualties, and recurring communication problems mean U.S. commanders lacked situational awareness, but the first wave's casualties are tolerable. When the fourth wave's landing craft approach the beach, they make a terrible discovery. D-Day does coincide with a freak low tide, so the landing craft can't pass the reef. Some troops transfer to LVT, but many wade to up 700 meters to shore. They are easy targets for the Japanese. About 500 yards out, the boat rammed into the reef and everyone was ordered over the side. I leaped out and went into water over my head. Everywhere there were knocked-out tractors burning fiercely, men falling all around me, bodies and parts of body floating everywhere in the pink water. How anyone reached that shore is still a mystery to me. Half an hour elapsed before I put foot on dry land. Right Pacific 40, the Japanese destroy more LVT on return trips, forcing more men to wade ashore. Casualties increase dramatically, and a discouraging message from Red One finally reaches Julian Smith. Have landed. Unusually heavy opposition. Casualties 70%. Can't hold. Wukovitz 120 Marine officer by 11 a.m. Marines create tenuous positions west of Red 1 and either side of the pier on Red 2 and 3. Losses are especially high on Red 2, including the landing team commander. Colonel Shoup and Major Henry Crow establish a headquarters near the pier, while Major Michael Ryan on Red 1 shifts towards the unused Green Beach. Smith sends in the reserves, including the 6th Marine Regiment transferred from the Mackin Landing. Only when 7 Sherman tanks land on Red 3 do the Americans make any progress, but by evening 5:00 Marines are still only 2-300 meters inland. The major threat is now a Japanese night counterattack. So late on D-Day, the Marines cling to a vulnerable beachhead, and with enemy lines so close, U.S. supporting fire risks hitting friendlies. An organized Japanese attack could eliminate the beachheads, but the Marines have scored a lucky break. In the afternoon of D-Day, a destroyer shell kills Shibazaki before he orders a counterattack, so there is no major Japanese night attack. Heavy casualties continue on D+1 as men again wade ashore, and U.S. troops conduct a 3-pronged assault. Japanese defenders are disorganized and immobile, and Marines can now locate their bunkers and systematically reduce them with demolitions, flamethrowers, and tanks. Major Ryan's men secure Temakin Point, creating a safe landing beach, as other Marines cut the island in two. Shoup later awarded the Medal of Honor for his command, radios to Smith. Casualties many, percentage dead not known, combat efficiency we are winning.